go to a very traditional mission setting. Westerner goes in, does all the work, creates a dependency. You're thrown in the middle of that, but somehow in that you saw something different. What changed? I know that, as you started moving into what became Water For, um, what changed and how did you get there?
Man, I think like one of the benefits this has as Christians, I read the Bible for the first time on my own, not having gone to Sunday school or not having gone to like Sunday service. And then when we got into missions context, like I didn't have a lot of baggage of what it should have looked like.
Hmm.
And so, I mean, the Lord spared me with great ignorance, which I guess he continues to do today. But um, it was, I didn't want to rely on anybody, like I didn't like the idea of I didn't like having to get paid uh, by people in the church for me to be a missionary. So I was a terrible fundraiser because I didn't want to ask for money. So we made $19,000 a year before taxes, you know. And so when we went in to do good in communities, we just didn't have the money to help people with. Like we didn't have like scarcity is the first law of economics, good, great Thomas Sowell quote. And we couldn't ignore it like most politicians do. We wanted to, bring water or help people's incomes increase. We just couldn't use outside money to do it because we didn't have it. So when we got involved in drilling, we built local materials with local stuff, scrap yards and welded it up. And when we were doing job training, it was like, how much money do you guys have? I can give you a loan for $200, but you got to pay it back because I got to pay my power bill myself. And so I think the real economy that happened in our missions context by not having a lot of funding from coming from context of scarcity and poverty as a kid, God used all that to create a very different looking format. And I'll give credit to my missions team who I joined, who essentially said, we learned this after 10 years. We need to leave. And, having the blessing of that group who had put in a lot of hard work say, this is the type of fix that we need.
So basically, as you're thrown into missions, I love the fact that you went in a sense not really knowing anything, which is a great place to be. I've watched myself. I was in the pastorate before I went to missionary training school, before I had a theological degree, and after I got all that stuff, it took me a while to unlearn before I could get before I could get back to relying on God. Sound like you got to skip that step, or maybe put it in a different order.
Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe I just the knuckleheadedness. I had a master's in missiology, but like when it came down to just interacting with people, I had default behaviors that overrode any of the academic stuff. So it was later on when we really started to get successful that missions training started to become a problem for me. When I started to think too much about what we were doing and build programs and like do holistic work and community-based asset transformational development, yada, yada, yada. That's when everything went sideways. But early on, the early years, it was just, no, it was, clutch the flywheel. There was just no space for anything but reality. And we spent a lot of time in villages, camped 3 weeks at a time on the ground and built a philosophy from there. My later story is messing everything up by thinking about it too much with academia, but in the short term, I think we were doing it right.
I've got a really close friend who I met in Indonesia years ago, and he actually worked at several companies in China for a total of about 35 years. But his definition of business as mission kind of jives with what you're just saying. He says it's just walking with Jesus in business.
Yeah.
We start making it more than that, we really start messing it up. And Jesus not kind of, he was extremely clear. When you abide in me, you bear fruit. Apart from me, you can't do anything. So the lesson is pretty obvious. Abide in me, lean on me, rest in me. So, all right. So Water For, what does it do? What brought you to that? What are the main things that we need to know um, about this solution that God gave you? It's clearly not, given your history, what you just shared, it's not something you went to school and learned how to do. This is clearly something God gave you. So tell us about that.
Yeah, it's an exercise in problem solving. So this um, as I tell you what I'll do, I'll just start in saying like not having enough resources and knowing that we needed the resources from the people we were trying to serve is an essential part of mine and Water4's foundational philosophy from day one. You can't give this problem away. You can't subsidize this away. It's not good, even if you could. We can't do that. So what we currently do is we pipe water to the homes of rural and peri-urban customers in sub-Saharan Africa. We work in 4 countries and 5 regions. We'll have 1.1 million customers at the end of the year, 1,400 employees inside these 5 business units, all of which Water4 wholly owns, which is really unique. We'll generate $2 million in revenue from the sales of those water and those home connections that are sold to customers. And we take all that money as earned revenue and plow it back into the business to continue to expand our water points.
So just to be clear for our audience, basically what you're describing is a local water utility.
Correct.
In essence, a water company. And so you've got, and it's a for-profit business. This is not charity. This is not, hey, we're going to pipe you water for free. I know you tried some of that. Let me give you a water filter. Let's dig a well. We've heard those stories before. They don't necessarily last. Once you stop pushing the flywheel, they kind of go away. But the Lord led you into this for-profit, quite large thing. Give us an idea of the scale. Just how big is it today?
Yeah, I say today, 850,000 customers, 1,284 employees. So as of today, which is a lot. It's big. And this is all piped water, prepaid meters. Every point of sale is managed. And so, 15,000 points of sale that are managed. We have retail walk-up centers where people can come and buy the water. We distribute water to schools, hospitals. It's a big-time water utility. When you approach it, if you come to one of the offices in country, it looks like you're at a mining company. So there's hard hats and vests and vehicles and fabrication. We build all the, if you go to our website, you'll see these metal buildings and water towers and taps and homes. We build all that internally at our own manufacturing facilities that is all nationally operated. And then those pieces of capital assets that are fabricated are then installed as a part of the water systems. And then the same company that built and installed the water system then operates and maintains those same water systems. So everything's designed with a lens for operations and maintenance and having a profitable business.
So clearly
on the backside
it's built to last. There's no question about it.
Yep.
And you've built it on solid business principles.